Discover the incredible journey of the Yeti who transformed lives with 100 bowls of spaghetti. On a brisk morning, when Maplewood's streets lay shrouded in fog and whispers of struggle floated in the air, a gentle giant emerged from the snowy memories of the mountains. Benny, the Yeti, stood tall at 7 feet, cloaked in a soft coat of white fur that shimmered like fresh snow under the muted glow of the diner's flickering neon lights. People recoiled in disbelief, fear flickered in their eyes, clouded by their day-to-day battles with economic woes and fractured relationships. They had little room for someone so extraordinary, and yet, all Benny sought was a place to belong, a family of sorts. Finding solace in the local community center, Benny's heart raced with hope. This was more than a building, it was the heartbeat of Maplewood, where community ties meant everything. As he wandered through its halls, he noticed parents darting in and out, stretched thin by their struggles, children left longing for attention, and veterans lost in their thoughts. The scene felt heavy yet familiar, and Benny felt an aching connection to their loneliness. Inspired, he decided to make 100 bowls of spaghetti the ultimate comfort food, a warm hug on a plate that transcends borders. The kitchen buzzed with activity as Benny stirred a huge pot of sauce, the rich aroma wafting through the air, mingling with laughter and chatter. With every bowl he served, people hesitantly ventured closer. They found themselves sharing stories, laughter, and moments of connection amid the chaos. A veteran shared tales of camaraderie, while a single mother showed smiles that momentarily pushed away her fatigue. Benny's heart swelled with joy as they began to see beyond his colossal size, recognizing that he, too, was just searching for warmth and acceptance. But just when this tenuous connection began to flourish, a simple mistake shattered the harmony. A gesture misinterpreted, a wave that seemed threatening in a moment of fear. Tension spiked like the sound of a clanging bell. The town hall meeting erupted into chaos, whispers turned to shouts as old wounds opened. Did they dare accept this gentle Yeti, or would they cling to their fears? Benny felt the weight of countless gazes, doubt crept into his heart. Maybe I don't belong after all, he thought, pain knotting his stomach. This was a struggle of identity and acceptance, a reflection of wounds shared by many. As emotions soared and tempers flared, Benny stood firm. The aroma of spaghetti filled the room, a reminder of the warmth he sought to provide. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. The clock ticked ominously as Benny prepared to address the crowd. He wanted to show them that love could blossom, even in fear. But would the townspeople dare to embrace the unexpected friendships that had started to form? Would they shatter old biases for the promise of something beautiful? As he took a deep breath, he felt a shift. Perhaps it was the very essence of community rising against prejudice. One creature's journey to find belonging was about to spark a transformation far greater than himself. Benny cleared his throat, the room quieting down as he stood before the crowd, his towering presence casting a long shadow. The couples, families, and single souls watched him, a mix of apprehension and curiosity etched on their faces. He could feel the crackle of tension in the air, thick enough to cut with a knife. This was his moment, a chance to speak from the heart. "Hey everyone," Benny began, his voice deep but gentle, like distant thunder hinting at an approaching storm. I know I might look different, like something out of a fairy tale. But inside, I'm just like you. He scanned the room, searching for a spark of recognition, a flicker of understanding. I came here because I felt alone too. Growing up high in the mountains, I often wished for a family, a community. I thought maybe, just maybe, I'd find that here. A few heads nodded, and Benny's heart lifted. He pressed on. When I decided to make spaghetti, I just wanted to share warmth and love. Food has a unique power. It can heal wounds, can spark laughter, and maybe even turn strangers into friends. That's what I hoped for when I made 100 bowls. He paused, letting his words hang in the air, heavy with emotion. But when my wave was mistaken, it broke my heart. I saw the fear, and I understand it. I know times are tough. But I also believe that we can break down those walls together. An elderly woman in the front row wiped away a tear, and Benny caught her eye. I didn't come here to take anything from you. I came to give. Let's embrace the unknown. Let us replace fear with trust and judgment with kindness. Together, we can fill our bowls and our hearts. A nervous murmur rippled through the crowd. Benny felt a flicker of hope, but he knew it wouldn't be enough to shift years of prejudices overnight. Suddenly, a young girl rose from her chair, her small figure trembling slightly. I think he's nice, she said, glancing up at Benny. He makes spaghetti for us. That's like a friend. Gasps erupted, mixed with light chuckles, as tension lightened across the room. That's right, Benny replied, smiling down at her, his heart swelling. Food is the start. What if we all shared a bowl together? Just like my mom taught me. Gather at the table, let those old fears wash away. Slowly, a few people stood. A father with weary eyes joined the girl. Then another person, and another, until a ripple turned into a wave. Soon, several townsfolk made their way forward, unsure but willing to take a chance. Benny's breath caught in his throat. As Benny served the first bowl, laughter sprouted like wildflowers above the table. A sense of community began to unearth itself, an intangible thread binding them together. He could see their walls beginning to crumble, bit by bit. But just as connection blossomed, a commotion erupted near the back. A storm had rolled in outside, and shadows danced behind the windows. The wind howled like a frightened child, rattling the community center and drawing everyone's attention. Panic flickered in the air again. Could this fragile moment withstand the storm of nature and the tempest of their fears? Would Benny's message be heard amidst the chaos? As the sounds of thunder echoed ominously, one question hung in the air: would they stand together against the storm, or would their fear pull them apart once again? The storm outside raged, but inside the community center, something remarkable was taking shape. Benny could see the collective breaths of those around him, a mix of anticipation and uncertainty. The screams of the wind were replaced by the sounds of tentative laughter and hesitant conversation. The moment was fragile, but it thrummed with potential. While a few people shifted uncomfortably in their seats, others stepped forward, eyebrows raised, intrigued by Benny's earnestness. A raven-haired boy, no older than 12, giggled nervously before wrestling the courage to speak. "What kind of spaghetti do you make?" he asked, curiosity breaking through the somber tension. Benny's heart soared. "The familiar kind, like all the best memories," he said with warmth. "With rich tomato sauce, herbs, and a sprinkle of love." He glanced around at their faces. "You see, every bowl tells a story. Maybe it can be the start of ours." There was a ripple of excitement as more people leaned in to hear. The elderly woman who had seen the first glimmers of hope chimed in softly, her voice quaking but strong. "I remember when my husband used to make dinner for our family. He always said, 'Food is a way to express love.'" Everyone listened, drawn into the past she shared, the way love intertwined with the simplest things. Benny nodded, sensing the shared memory forming a tether among them. "Exactly. Food brings us together, like a warm embrace. Can you feel that?" He gestured expansively, taking a step closer to the crowd, inviting them into his vision. But just then, the windows rattled violently, a reminder that the storm was still spiraling outside, fierce and relentless. The lights flickered, causing gasps to echo against the walls. But in that moment of danger, something unexpected happened. Someone shouted from the back, "If he believes in us, we should believe in him." A wave of solidarity surged through the crowd. They began to rise, one by one, drawing strength from one another. Benny felt their commitment envelop him, like a warm blanket unfurling in the chill of the storm. "Let us do this together," Benny urged, eyes bright with hope. "Who is ready to share a bowl?" A chorus of voices erupted in spontaneous agreement, the sounds of fear turning to excitement. With unsteady hands but newfound determination, a few townsfolk joined Benny in the kitchen area. They moved clumsily at first, their apprehension fumbling as they tried to replicate the simple recipe. Laughter mixed with their chatter, creating a symphony of joy that danced around the community center despite the chaos and rattling shutters outside. Benny poured pasta into boiling water, and soon the aroma of garlic and fresh tomatoes filled the air, mingling with the sense of fear and uncertainty, transforming them into something delicious. As the first bowl started to fill, Benny couldn't help but smile at the growing camaraderie. People who had clung to their fears just moments ago were suddenly sharing cooking tips and swapping stories, all revolving around the love of food, laughter, and a spark of human connection. Just as he served the first steaming bowl to the young girl, the room trembled more violently. The lights finally flickered out, and darkness enveloped them like a heavy blanket. Gasps cut through the night air, but before fear could seize them, a voice rang out. "Let us light some candles!" Someone shouted triumphantly. Would this be the moment they would forge a bond stronger than their fears, or would the darkness of uncertainty snuff out what had just begun to rekindle? As Benny held the bowl tightly against his chest, he felt the flicker of hope that had emerged just moments ago dance with renewed vigor. The storm raged on outside, but inside, an unexpected flame of connection ignited once more. What would happen when they finally illuminated the room with the warmth of their collective spirit? The darkness held a tense beauty, wrapping around the gathering like a shroud. Benny's heart raced in the silence, but as the candles were lit, a soft glow spread outwards, illuminating faces that had previously flickered with fear. Shadows danced on the walls, revealing the warmth growing in the center of the room. Each flickering flame seemed to echo the heartbeat of the community, steady and alive. "Look at that!" the raven-haired boy exclaimed, his eyes wide with wonder. "We did it!" Cheers broke out as the soft light filled in the corners, creating an inviting space for conversations that had been quietly waiting to breathe. Benny took a moment to breathe it all in. Here they were, amidst the storm, bound together not just by circumstance, but by the moment that was blossoming and evolving. It felt electric. "What's next?" a young woman with curly red hair asked, an eagerness sparking in her voice. "We've got the food, but what about the stories?" "All of you have a story to tell," Benny said, feeling a surge of exhilaration. Spaghetti is just the beginning. Memories, dreams, fears, let us share them all. A man towards the back stepped forward. I remember my grandmother's kitchen, he said, his voice rich with nostalgia. Her spaghetti was the best in town. She taught me that cooking was just as much about bringing people together as it was about the food itself. As he spoke, the crowd began to murmur its agreement. One by one, people began to share their own memories, the things that spaghetti reminded them of. A mother spoke of her child's first birthday party. An elder recalled a summer filled with laughter and late-night dinners. Each story added layers to the ambience, transforming it from a mere gathering into a rich tapestry of shared experience. Benny poured bowls and handed them out, watching as hands reached out eagerly. The rich aroma of sauce and herbs mingled with the warmth filling the room. The simple act of sharing a meal began to erode the remnants of their fears. Faces lit up with appreciation, and Benny could see the change taking root. Just as they settled into this newfound rhythm, a loud crack of thunder rumbled outside, making everyone jump. But instead of retreating into uncertainty, they held on to one another more tightly. "This is our moment!" Benny shouted above the storm, and cheers rose once more, against the roar of nature. In that moment, the laughter and connection felt too precious to fathom. Benny briefly caught sight of the young girl whose bowl he had served first. She grinned widely, the fear replaced by pure joy. He realized that they were not just sharing food, they were crafting a new chapter in their lives, one filled with hope, unity, and courage. Yet even amidst this closeness, a nagging worry lingered. What would happen when the storm passed? Would they revert to the isolation of their individual lives, or would this moment linger? Would the light they had created together remain? Determined to keep the flame alive, Benny raised his own bowl high. Here's to new friendships and brighter tomorrows. The cheers responded, but underneath it all, Benny knew they all bore the question together: how far could this transformation reach? As the storm's wind howled, Benny felt that the real storm was just beginning to brew within their hearts. Would they summon the strength to nurture this connection when calm finally returned? The energy in the room felt like a spark igniting a fire, flickering and vibrant. Laughter hung in the air, bouncing off the walls as the stories flowed like the sauce over their spaghetti. Benny looked around, taking in the mixture of faces illuminated by candlelight. Each smile felt like a small victory, a testament to their shared experience against the growing storm outside. As people shared and engaged, Benny found himself drawn to a small group in a corner. Two women, one in her 30s and the other much older, were sharing in hushed tones. A sense of urgency gripped Benny, as if he were watching a moment unfold that demanded to be heard. "Tell me your story," he encouraged softly, joining their circle. The younger woman hesitated, her eyes flickering with uncertainty. The older one smiled gently, placing her hand on the younger's shoulder. "It's all right, dear," she said. "We're all friends here." With a deep breath, the younger woman began. "Growing up, my mom used to make spaghetti every Sunday. It was our family time, the one day a week where everything else faded away." Her voice grew heavier, and Benny's heart ached for her. "But ever since she passed, Sundays have felt empty." The older woman's hand tightened on her shoulder, a silent show of support. Benny glanced around, the faces around him had softened, the laughter had dimmed as they listened, collectively holding their breaths. "Did you ever think about keeping that tradition alive?" Benny asked, his heart pounding as he spoke. "You could bring everyone here. Maybe we can start a new Sunday tradition together." Tears welled in the younger woman's eyes, but they weren't entirely from sadness. I don't know, it's just that it's been so hard without her. I never thought I could bring everyone together after her voice faltered. Benny could feel the emotion vibrating in the air, a deep resonance that echoed everyone's hidden struggles. The room was quiet, but the presence of love, loss, and the incredible possibility of new beginnings hung like a promise. Hold on to those memories, Benny said softly. They're the roots that can help us grow. The older woman nodded, her eyes shining with understanding. The younger woman wiped her tears and took a breath. All right, she said, determination replacing uncertainty. Let us do it. I want to bring everyone together again on Sundays. Cheers erupted spontaneously around them, as the crowd embraced this newfound idea. Benny felt a surge of hope ripple through the air, empowering others to see what was possible. The storm that raged outside seemed distant now, a mere backdrop to this flowering community spirit. Just as a beautiful warmth enveloped them, another streak of lightning illuminated the room, and a loud crash of thunder echoed. Benny jumped slightly before bursting into laughter. All right, Storm. We'll take you on. Together. Everyone joined in, laughter erupting again, piercing through the heaviness. It was a chaotic yet blissful moment, pure joy carved from shared courage. But in the depths of his heart, Benny could still feel the weight of uncertainty. Despite their connection, how far could they really go? Could these memories and intentions transform their lives beyond this stormy night? The air crackled with excitement, but some unvoiced questions lingered. What happened next would shape their path. Benny held on to hope tightly, willing their flames to linger bright. In that moment of joy, a realization hit him. We're not just weathering the storm. We're learning to dance in the rain. And as thunder rolled again, the community cheered, but within Benny stirred another question. Would they embrace the dance even after the rain stopped? The atmosphere shifted as the laughter echoed through the room, but just for a moment, Benny noticed a shadow pass over the eyes of the younger woman, still clutching on to that spark of hope. He couldn't shake the feeling that the echo of her story lingered, connecting each one of them in a different way. He leaned closer to her, curiosity brimming within him. Do you want to keep talking? He asked softly, aware that this moment might be the key to something deeper. The younger woman, her name now known to him as Sarah, nodded slowly. She looked around, her gaze meeting the warmth of supportive smiles, which seemed to bolster her courage. I just am afraid, Sarah admitted, her voice quivering. What if I've forgotten how to bring everyone together? What if I can't fulfill that promise? Everyone has been through their own struggles, Benny encouraged, reflecting on his own hidden burdens that he often masked with laughter. But you're not alone in this. You've got a whole community now. Just take it one step at a time. You'd be surprised how much these little moments mean to everyone. As he spoke, the older woman beside Sarah, whom he learned was named Ellen, squeezed her shoulder gently. It's okay to be afraid, Ellen added, her voice rich with experience. Fear can be a friend that pushes us forward. Use it. A hopeful spark ignited in Sarah's expression. Maybe we can have potluck dinners? Everyone can bring their favorite dish and share stories. We'll create new memories. Benny could feel the excitement bubbling, as if the storm outside had turned back to rainbows and sunshine. The idea of potlucks reignited that shared warmth among everyone in the room. He could already envision tables piled high with homemade goodies, laughter spilling over like broth in a simmering pot. As they discussed logistics, Benny felt the undercurrent of something bigger, the realization that perhaps this was larger than a single meal or tradition. They were crafting connections, weaving lives together in the aftermath of loss and fear. Imagine walking in every Sunday, knowing there's going to be joy, knowing people are there for you, Benny sighed, a wave of passion coursing through him. Exactly, Sarah exclaimed, her face lighting up like the candles surrounding them. We're creating a space where stories flow as freely as spaghetti sauce. Suddenly, the lights flickered, dimming slightly, an omen from the storm outside, a reminder of unpredictability. But instead of dampening their spirits, it only added a thrill to the air. Benny looked at everyone, savoring their determined expressions, ready to brave whatever storms lay ahead. Just as Sarah began outlining her plan for the potluck, an unexpected crash from outside seeped into the conversation, a loud crack of thunder that interrupted the joyous chatter. Everyone turned, startled, glancing toward the windows draped in dark shadows. And in that moment of uncertainty, something shifted in Benny. It hit him like a bolt of lightning. Their newfound community was fragile, not just from the storm raging outside but from the storms they each carried within. What if they faced those fears together, openly? I have an idea, Benny called out in a challenging tone, his voice rising above the thrumming rain. What if we not only share food and stories but we also share our struggles? What if we bring our storms into the light? Gasps rippled through the crowd, eyes widening at the thought of vulnerability mingling with their strength. The challenge hung in the air, and with anticipation and apprehension, they felt the weight of possibility. What would happen when they spun threads of pain into their warm tapestry of community? Would they emerge stronger, or would the flaws fray the fabric laboriously woven? Benny's heart raced at the thought. They could become something extraordinary if they dared to share their truths. Could they gather the courage to embrace not only the joy but the pain of their stories? As the thunder rolled once more, the excitement began to bubble again. Benny smiled, an embrace of hope and fear intertwined. So, who is brave enough to share tonight? A charged silence fell over the room, each face lit in candlelight, anticipation bubbling in the air. In that breathtaking moment, a hint of a new storm was brewing, not from outside, but from within. Would they rise to face it together? Sure enough, Sarah's voice broke the silence, trembling but resolute. I want to try, and even as the world outside raged, they all took a deep breath in unison, ready for whatever was coming next. Sarah's voice hung in the air, a soft tremor that both quelled and amplified the surrounding silence. Benny felt his heartbeat quicken, the anticipation of the moment suffusing the room. He could see the flicker of courage in her eyes, igniting the others, and he knew this was a turning point. Okay, Sarah started, her hands twisting nervously in her lap. This is a really big thing for me. She paused, taking a deep breath, and he saw Ellen lean in closer, offering her silent support. I've been battling a lot of inner demons lately. It feels like I'm drowning, you know? I used to think I had everything figured out: school, friends, my future. But after Mom passed, it's all been jumbled. Her voice quaked, but she pressed on, visibly determined. I need to find a way to handle this. Benny could feel the heartache radiating from her words, a tangible energy that snaked into everyone's chests. As Sarah poured out her soul, Benny glanced around the room. Every face mirrored her pain, yet also held an empathetic light, glistening like hope. I think I forgot how to laugh, she continued, her head bowed. We used to have family dinners filled with humor and stories. Now it just feels empty. I want that back. I want to share food and memories again, and maybe just maybe find a way to heal. A tear slipped down her cheek, glistening in the candlelight, and the room held its breath. Benny could see the effect her words had, not just on her but on the entire group, as people shifted in their seats, grappling with their own relief and grief. The crack of thunder outside left a dramatic pause just after her confession. It reverberated along with the tension in the air. "Thank you, Sarah," Benny said, his voice earnest and fierce as he spoke to everyone. "You've shown us it's okay to voice our struggles. And I want to share mine too." He couldn't hold back any longer. "I've always been the jester, the clown. But it's been a mask." His heart raced to break through the facade. "When my dad lost his job last year, it broke something inside me. I felt like I had to keep everyone smiling, but it ate away at me. I was terrified of losing them." He took in the faces around him, his breath ragged. "We've all been fighting our battles in silence. It feels like a stranglehold, doesn't it?" Ellen nodded, emotion swirling in her eyes. "We've all walked through shadows, Benny," she said, her voice thick with understanding. "It's been hard." "Well then," he said, rallying his energy, "let us burst this bubble of silence we've been trapped in. Let us do it together. All of us." Gradually, more hands began to rise, shaky and uncertain. "I want to share," someone from the back spoke, their voice trembling yet powerful. "I lost my job too. I'm scared of what the future looks like." As others began to join in, sharing heartfelt anecdotes of their struggles, family burdens, health issues, the shadows of loneliness creeping into their hearts, a tidal wave of vulnerability swept through the group. Tears were shed, laughter intertwined with sobs. Each confession resonated and bound them closer together. The charge of energy crackled, lighting a path toward trust and healing. The storm outside seemed to whisper encouragement through the walls. They were no longer alone, they could lean on one another. Just as the conversation reached a peak, the lights fluttered once more, completely flickering until they went out, leaving them in a swirl of darkness. A collective gasp resonated through the room, but then came the glow of candles, brought forth by someone in the crowd. Benny couldn't help but chuckle softly. "Seems fitting, right? Here we are sharing our storms, and the power goes out. Maybe it's a sign we're meant to light our own way." "Maybe it is," Sarah whispered back, her voice laced with hope. In the dim candlelight, surrounded by flickering shadows and shared laughter, the future looked brighter. Benny felt something shift deep within him, a promise of renewal, of community. "So, who's got a story to make this darkness a little brighter?" he asked, eyes shining with anticipation as a budding joy bloomed in the hearts around him. As the first voice hesitantly rose from the group, Benny realized that tonight was just the beginning of something miraculous. Each story would stitch their hearts together into a vibrant tapestry. But just as the mood lifted, a loud crash from the kitchen interrupted them, a sign that the night was far from over, and new challenges awaited them just beyond their fragile bubble of warmth and light. What could possibly be lurking behind that door? The crash echoed through the room, hitting the air like a mischievous wind. Benny's heart raced again, but this time with curiosity rather than fear. "What was that?" he asked, tone lighter than he felt. The candlelight flickered, revealing faces stricken with a mix of intrigue and apprehension. They exchanged glances, a silent agreement forming between them to investigate. Benny stood up, an anchor of determination amidst their uncertainties. "Let us see what's happening," he urged, his voice clearer now. Ellen immediately followed suit, her expression resolute. "I'll go with you." Sarah stayed back, worry knitted in her brow. "Do be careful. It might be something." He chuckled lightly, attempting to ease the tension. "Might be a raccoon. Or a bowl of spaghetti gone rogue." As they crept toward the kitchen, the darkness pressed against them like a heavy blanket. The only sounds were the soft shuffling of their feet and the beating of their hearts. Benny could feel the warmth of the candles behind them fading in the distance. When they reached the kitchen door, Benny paused, heart pounding in his chest. He exchanged a quick glance with Ellen and then pushed the door open. What greeted them was pure chaos. The kitchen was strewn with pots and pans, a trio of bowls had toppled, and in the middle of it all sat a stray cat, looking utterly pleased with itself. "Seriously?" Benny let out a breath he didn't know he'd been holding, relief washing over him. "A cat?" Ellen laughed, the tension breaking like a wave on the shore. "Looks like our intruder is harmless after all." Just then, a piece of paper fluttered off the counter, gliding down to them like a snowflake. Benny bent down and picked it up. It was a flyer for a community spaghetti fundraiser. The title leapt out at him, "Feed the Heart, join us for a night of sharing and caring." "Maybe this is a sign," Benny said, his mind racing. "We could do something together. Like the stories we've just shared but over spaghetti. We need this, every one of us." Ellen beamed, the idea taking hold. "Yeah. It could be our way to bring everyone together, dinners filled with food, laughter, everything Sarah mentioned." Benny's eyes sparkled with excitement. "Let us set it up right now. Make it happen." But as they turned back toward the group, a sudden uneasiness crept into Benny's heart. Would everyone want the same? Would they join in on the idea that was taking root in his mind? He glanced at Ellen, gauging her confidence. "You think they'll go for it?" Ellen nodded firmly. "Why wouldn't they? This is about healing, sharing, and reconnecting." In that moment, they both could feel it, a dream forming that held the potential for something bigger than each of them alone. They hurried back to the living room, excitement bubbling in their chests. As they stepped inside, the air was electric. Stories had been shared, connections forged. Benny could see the flickers of hope against the dark canvas of uncertainty. This was their moment, just the spark they needed. "Guys!" Benny called out, unable to contain his enthusiasm. "What if we organized a community spaghetti night?" But as he spoke, he noted the look on Sarah's face. It flickered with something deeper than mere surprise, something that pulled at the corners of her lips, a reflection of both joy and hesitation. "What if we do it together?" she asked, her voice carrying a hint of uncertainty. "But what if it doesn't change anything?" The room fell silent, as the magnitude of her question echoed. Benny's heart sank just a little. There was always that fear when reaching for something so vulnerable. Could they actually turn their shared pain into something transformative? With all eyes on him, uncertainty loomed. The promise of change felt both exhilarating and daunting. But one thought blazed brighter than the others. Deep down, he knew that by sharing a meal together, they could also share their burdens. "Maybe all we need is that first step," Benny said softly, his breath catching in his throat. "What do you think?" The whispers of the group filled the space as uncertainty mingled with fresh hope. They were standing on the threshold of possibility, and Benny could almost taste it in the air. But just as they began to nod and share their thoughts, another loud crash echoed from the kitchen, rattling the walls. What new surprise could that be? Would they be able to overcome the obstacles that threatened their budding plans? The crash sent them all jumping, a swirl of fear and curiosity gripping the room anew. Benny shot a glance at Ellen, whose eyes sparkled with the thrill of uncertainty. "Maybe our furry friend is at it again," she suggested, half laughing, but Benny could see her uneasiness. "Let us check it out," he said, unable to resist the pull of adventure. They hurried back to the kitchen, and as they rounded the corner, Benny's breath caught in his throat. The stray cat was now perched on top of the refrigerator, a proud conqueror of its kingdom. "What did you knock over?" he asked, a half-smile creeping onto his face as he scanned the countertop. His amusement faded quickly when he noticed something else on the floor, a shattered plate, its pieces glimmering like scattered stars across the tile. That wasn't quite the plan," Benny whispered, kneeling to pick up the larger pieces. Ellen squatted beside him, her brow furrowed as her fingers traced the edges of the remaining shards. "Maybe we should clean this up before anyone else gets hurt," she suggested, but little did they know, that simple act of cleaning would open up a discussion none of them expected. As they worked, the sound of laughter floated in from the living room. It was Sarah, her laughter mingling with others, a melody of uncertainty starting to transform into joy. Benny paused for a moment, letting the warmth of the moment settle over him. Laughter, hope, connection, it felt like an elixir, something they'd all been craving. "What if," Benny began tentatively, "what if we shared our stories while we cleaned? You know, just like we talked about at the fundraiser? It might help." Ellen looked at him, surprise lighting up her eyes. "That's actually a great idea. It could turn this mess into something meaningful." They started gathering everyone around, inviting voices into the kitchen, pulling them away from their tentatively formed barriers. One by one, the group joined, exchanging stories that felt heavy yet lighter with the company. Sarah stood by the counter, sharing her favorite memory of spaghetti nights at her grandmother's house. She always said that food holds the power to bring people together, no matter the trouble, she recounted, a smile breaking through her earlier apprehension. Even if it was just a simple dinner, it felt like a celebration. Benny couldn't help but feel the collective heartbeat of hope pulsing through them all. The room brightened, illuminating the shadows seeping in from earlier fears. The broken plate had unintentionally brought forth something beautiful, a chance to bond, heal, and celebrate life as imperfect moments. But then a flicker of doubt crept back in. Ellen looked at Benny, her eyebrows raised. "What if this doesn't work? What if we all share, and nothing changes?" Benny's heart sank. He understood the sentiment. What if vulnerability didn't yield the results they were all yearning for? But just as he opened his mouth to respond, the cat leapt off the refrigerator and landed on the table with a loud thud, scattering the remaining decorations. "Maybe the world is just waiting for us to embrace the chaos," he said, finding strength in the unexpected. "Sometimes, we need to disrupt the routine to find our way." They all laughed, the fear tapering off into a bubbling excitement. The invitation was set, they would move forward with their spaghetti night. As laughter filled the kitchen, he caught a glimpse of determination flickering in the eyes of his friends. Benny knew this was just the beginning. There were more hurdles to leap, stories to share, and doubts to overcome. But that night, as they prepared for the community gathering, he couldn't shake the feeling that something monumental was on the horizon. What if they really could weave their struggles into something beautiful? What if this spaghetti night became a turning point for all of them? And just as they settled into a rhythm, another strange noise echoed from the back room. A heavy thud that felt almost ominous. What could it be now? The heavy thud reverberated through the community center, its sound sharp and unexpected amidst the laughter and chatter. Benny exchanged glances with Ellen, white fur prickling with excitement. "What now?" he said, a grin poised to break free, even with the unease bubbling underneath. "Shall we investigate again?" Ellen asked, her tone light but a hint of concern twisted through her words. "Absolutely!" Benny exclaimed, emboldened by the newfound connections they had just made. They gathered a small group of brave souls willing to explore the chaos together, voices of excitement blending with whispers of apprehension. Cautiously, they approached the source of the noise. As Benny pushed open the door, a rush of adrenaline surged through him. He couldn't quite fathom what awaited them, but his heart beat faster nonetheless. What new mystery lay behind the threshold? The room appeared dimly lit, yet in one corner, he spotted the culprit. An old cart had toppled over, spilling out a variety of supplies meant for their upcoming spaghetti night. Bowls, napkins, and ingredients lay scattered, an unexpected disaster transforming into an exciting venture. Gasps erupted from the group, but Benny couldn't help but chuckle. Seems like even the supplies are excited to join the party. Much laughter followed. The fear and seriousness that had been hovering in the air began to fade. "Let us gather all this and put it to good use," Ellen suggested, her eyes glowing with determination. "We can turn this chaos into creativity." Benny felt the thrill of possibility bursting inside him like bubbles in the sauce. They all dove into the task with renewed energy, picking up the fallen items while trading war stories of their own kitchen flops in between. With every smile and shared moment, they discovered just how much they needed each other. The earlier insecurities melted away, replaced by a playful atmosphere. Casual jokes were tossed around, the veteran describing a pot roast explosion, the mother recalling her child's attempt to make spaghetti that turned out more like a science experiment. "You see," Benny said, "life is messy, just like this kitchen. But we're in it together. And that's what makes it worthwhile." As laughter echoed through the room, Benny's heart swelled. Each story shared brought them closer together, personal pain and awkward moments merging into something stronger. "I think we should hang the decorations we had ready here," a voice chimed, pointing out a string of lights stored in a box. "Let's make this place feel special. A new start for all of us." Emboldened by the warmth radiating in the air, Benny turned to the group once more. "What if we build our own banner? Something together, a piece infused with all our stories?" And as they began writing on the strips of paper, each person's voice emerged, stitching their fears and hopes into one long stream of community spirit. Benny watched in awe as they crafted a radiant tapestry, each word bound by the promise of togetherness. With every letter penned, they turned worries into warmth, heartaches into hope. As they stepped back to admire their work, the proud banner glowed even more brilliantly against the walls, the culmination of everyone's dreams, triumphs, and struggles, forming a radiant declaration of their journey. Benny sighed deeply, satisfaction coursing through him like the aroma of the spaghetti simmering in the other room. "This is beautiful," he said. "But remember, it doesn't end here. Tonight is just the starting line. We'll carry this love and connection with us, even in the days that follow." The group nodded, a mesmerizing buzz of energy wrapping them, a bonded family of sorts. They knew their struggles were far from over, but now they faced them together, armed with both laughter and love. As they turned back to continue preparations for their spaghetti night, a gentle rain began outside, soft and rhythmic, a comforting backdrop to their newfound joy. They resumed paired tasks, making final touches, a harmonious symphony of movement, voices, and laughter filling the air. Benny moved amongst them, helping here and there, and caught sight of Sarah. She approached him with tears of joy in her eyes, her smile radiant. "Thank you, Benny," she said. "You pulled us all together. I didn't think we'd ever find laughter again. You brought the heart, Sarah. We're just humans leaning on one another. Together, we can embrace our storms and dance amongst the chaos." Moments passed, and soon the scent of sauce wafted through the air, wrapping around the community center like a warm hug. Benny's heart swelled. They were ready, prepared for a night of storytelling, laughter, and connection that would transcend the shadows that had lingered for too long. As they gathered around the table, Benny knew this was the moment they would remember. They were embarking on something life-changing, not just a meal, but the beginning of a new relationship with each other. "Let us fill our bowls and our hearts, create memories worth sharing," Benny said, raising his bowl high, filled with steaming spaghetti. "Tonight, we're feeding our souls." An enthusiastic chorus erupted, voices full of grace and joy, candlelight reflecting in their eyes. They were more than just a community, they had forged a family. And as they took their first bites, laughter exploding around the table, Benny felt an overwhelming sense of peace settle over him. It was a vibrant promise of hope, a spark that would resonate long after the storm had passed, igniting their hearts with the knowledge that being together was the best recipe of all. Each bite they shared brought forth stories, tears, and joy, and from that night on, their hearts would forever hold the warmth of 100 bowls of spaghetti woven beautifully into the fabric of community and family. Want to join our journey and see what happens next? Subscribe immediately to the channel to not miss the next exclusive stories. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm, it really helps us out. Comment your reactions and feelings about the ending. We want to know. And don't wait not even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. This is the moment to show your support. Only true fans understand the importance of these actions.